But first, the government has announced details of another scheme to attract foreign investment and talent. The Capital Investment Entrant Scheme is for applicants age 18 or above who are foreigners, including Taiwan and Macau residents, as well as Chinese nationals who have permanent resident status elsewhere. Applicants must have a net asset value of at least 30 million Hong Kong dollars in the 2 years before applying, including at least $27 million in non-residential property and financial assets, such as stocks or bonds, as well as $3 million invested in innovation and technology. Financial Services Chief Christopher Hui said the new scheme differed to an earlier scheme that was suspended in 2015, and there would be no hard targets.
I must say we don't have a hard target in terms of the number of people that we want to achieve under the scheme, because after all, it has been quite some time since we launched the last one, and also a lot of parameters that we introduced this time are rather different from those of the previous scheme. But that said, if we use the previous scheme as a reference in terms of the number of applicants on an annual basis, we have around 4,000. Every year. So riding on this number, and if you times 30 million, so it could be amounting 120 billion Hong Kong dollars of new money.
Well, applications for the scheme are expected to open in the first half of next year. Well, for more on this, we're now joined on the line by Hong Kong immigration consultant Stephen Barnes. Good morning.
Hello there. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for coming on the program. So what do you think about the scheme?
Well, it's another string to our bow, so to speak. Hong Kong has got a variety of different immigration programs designed to attract certain types of individuals. There's been a sore gap in the portfolio of opportunities for residents in Hong Kong on the basis of passive investment. And this is designed to sort of plug that gap that opened up after 2015 when it was last suspended.
So this scheme, it says it's open to foreign nationals, Chinese nationals who have acquired foreign permanent resident status, Macau residents or Taiwan residents of Chinese ethnicity. So basically, who is not included in the list then?
Well, all the usual suspects, such as North Koreans and Cubans and Cambodians, I think, are off, not in the hunt. The interesting thing about this, though, is the language which was included in the press release, where they talked about Chinese nationals who have PR in a foreign country. Because under the last Capital Investment Entrant Scheme, which was a $10 million program by the time it concluded in 2015, ostensibly Chinese nationals were excluded from that program. However, they were able to take advantage of, in a sense, overnight PR in a foreign country, sort of by convenience opportunities, mostly from Africa, and then were able to qualify under the scheme. So it'll be interesting to see exactly, what the immigration department are going to do about recognising foreign PRs for the purposes of being a Chinese national to qualify.
And so who do you think would be interested in taking up this scheme?
Well, I mean, the whole program is designed to nest within the government's policy about attracting family offices. So clearly the quantum requires you to be of a certain net worth, and it's designed specifically for, those individuals that have got $30 million that they can, pop into qualifying investment asset classes. There aren't that many folks out there, in my experience anyway, that would be, let's say, to the tune of 4,000 a year, even though they haven't set targets like that, but who could, drop $30 million into Hong Kong for the purposes of getting a Hong Kong identity card. It's quite competitive now in terms of investment for residence programs around the world, but we've got it, and no doubt some will find it very helpful. And I think the sort of immediate obvious target would be those folks from the Middle East.
I was going to say, what is attractive about Hong Kong? Why would wealthy investors want to come here and then not Singapore, for example?
Well, they could in fact choose both places. I mean, when you've got that level of wealth, you tend to be a little bit defensive in, how you go about procuring residence opportunities. 30 million Hong Kong for a very wealthy person isn't that much. It's not lost money as such. It's just very often a case of, shifting wealth from one part of your portfolio to another part of your portfolio and get a Hong Kong ID card in the process. So it'll be primarily those folks that will be taking advantage of this, in my view.
And what do you make of the requirement for a $3 million investment in the IT sector?
Well, it's actually going into the Hong Kong Investment Corporation. So I don't know exactly, how they go about determining which Hong Kong entities are the benefit of, the funds that come out of that. But it's 10% of the overall requirement. I guess it's, got something concrete to it, which is different from the last program. So this way, at least small businesses that are innovative in nature, that are based in Hong Kong, have an opportunity to get some money out of it. Previously, they didn't. They were just excluded.
I mean, the Financial Services Minister said there wasn't any hard target, but he said he was expecting, 4,000 applicants a year if you compare to the last program. So what would your estimate be then?
Well, given that 90% of the participants in the last program were Chinese nationals who, as I say, were able to qualify through foreign country PR of convenience. I don't know how realistic 4,000 would be. If you look at some of the other programs around the world, I don't know that they'd be attracting 4,000 candidates, given that they're not getting a passport per se out of this. They get Hong Kong residency after 7 years if they've lived ordinarily in Hong Kong, which means they've practically moved to Hong Kong, had a habitual place of ordinary residence, have contributed to Hong Kong in some tangible, meaningful way, generated a kind of a tax footprint and the like, then they can qualify for permanent residency. But if they haven't done that, they can qualify for what's known as unconditional stay, which means after 7 years they can basically take their money back and do with it as they will and remain a resident of Hong Kong, with only one condition being that they remain in Hong Kong on one occasion in a 12-month given period.
Do you think that this scheme could be improved in any way?
Oh, gosh. Well, the devil's in the details, right? So they're going to launch it mid-2024. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to go about sort of managing and implementing the whole program. And in fact, who does qualify, whether, as I say, Chinese nationals with PR of convenience can qualify or not. Invest HK are going to be responsible for assessing the $30 million wealth requirement, that is, you've had a net wealth of at least $30 million in 2 years prior to submitting the application. And then they're going to be responsible for certifying that you've invested in the right asset classes and you've maintained that portfolio each time that your visa comes up for renewal after it's been initially approved. It's a new role for Invest HK, and whenever a government department gets hands on something, you don't quite know what's going to come out the other end of the sausage machine. So dealing with the immigration department is a known quantity. Dealing with Invest HK on this, let's see what it looks like. I'm sure they'll do a good job.
Thanks very much for joining us this morning. That's the Hong Kong immigration consultant, Stephen Barnes.